We have a discussion to be had, gentlemen. There's a large conversation brewing that's been brewing for decades around Delaware that there's nothing to do. I want to hit on that today. There's a couple other topics I'd like for us to hit. There's some controversy. There always has been above the canal versus below the canal.
Go lower, slower.
And we need to settle some debates around the food. So I brought in the experts. This is Pat. If you don't know Pat, this is Pat. We know Pat Campbell. Pat.Loft on IG. But now we got Mike Riches, Josh Brenneman. What's up, gentlemen?
How's it going?
Just say hi.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Well, yeah, welcome.
Welcome to us.
Well, welcome to y'all.
Welcome to us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate that. But either way, let's start with what do we do in Delaware? What's your all-time favorite thing to do in Delaware? Like reminiscent. Think back in the past.
Think back in the past.
Yeah.
Well, what
it could be last week. It could be last year. What's your favorite thing to do in Delaware?
What there used to be in Delaware that I wish that we could get back. Me and you had a conversation with your parents about it, and we want them to buy it. The drive-in.
Oh, the drive-in theater in Felton. Yeah, that's a good one.
That place was lit.
A little nostalgic.
I never did. You
When you were a kid or when your parents were kids?
No, when I was a kid.
Oh, when I was a kid, we didn't really have.
They had the one in Felton in Kent County. They had a nice drive-in theater.
I think they had one up by like Naaman's and Ridge Road when I was a kid.
That's a good one. What about you, Josh?
I mean, the classic beach. I mean, if I have to do specifically up north, I'd say it'd be more state park, county park centric type of activities. White Clay, Lums Pond.
White Clay's beautiful.
Oh, absolutely.
And don't shine down on like some of the stuff to do in Wilmington. Like I saw John Popper, like Blues Traveler, at the Queen in Wilmington.
Oh yeah,
like,
and
John Popper.
It actually amazes me. That's his name. Right?
Continue.
Yeah, continue. I just don't know who John Popper is. Go ahead.
It actually
Amazes.
I'm trying because it's right on the tip of my tongue. Like I know who you're talking about, but I don't think it's Popper.
Is that Blues Traveler?
Yeah.
Is it Popper?
Yeah.
Either way, he's at the Queen. Like
I think that's his name. I could be wrong.
But it amazes me that so few people outside of Wilmington even know about the Queen.
Wow, yeah, that's fair.
And then there's the Baby Grand up there. We have a small grand opera house. We have orchestra type stuff. So I also did grow up doing a lot of actually orchestra shows up there. And then they have plays. And so.
What's the wedding venue? The DuPont wedding venue?
There's
the
a
Hotel DuPont
wedding venues.
is one of the most prestigious wedding venues like in the area. Like I mean, of course, there's more hoity-toity places and more expensive than that. But for bang for your buck, like that place is amazing.
Yeah.
Like.
Well, and you have so many of the DuPont estates up there, and they grabbed so much of the city back in the day where a lot of it is just now venues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Winterthur.
Beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful.
Nuts.
Is it Winterthur that just sold to Longwood?
No, that was Gibraltar.
No, that was to the state. Something just sold to Longwood.
Oh, I can't remember.
But the city got Gibraltar, which is
Oh,
going to be
Longwood
really
bought AI
cool.
DuPont's estate.
That's what it was.
They bought the DuPont estate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they did.
That's
for an
nuts.
undisclosed amount of money.
A shit ton is what that was. What about you, Mike?
Well, my whole childhood was based around the neighborhood pool, which I don't know if that's a thing like below the canal, where like in North Wilmington, that was like it. Like you'd spend all day there, a swim team. Like that was like I'd go there at 9 o'clock in the morning. I wouldn't leave till 9 at night. That was my whole summer. So like that was my childhood, was hanging out at the neighborhood pool. I know that's not Delaware like centric, but like that was a big thing and a big thing that I did when I was a kid.
I would argue that. I would say Newcastle County centric for sure.
Yeah.
I did that.
I'm about to say, I think that's a
16 years
nationwide
old.
thing you're talking about, just back in the day.
Yeah, there's plenty of community pools. Like
More
even some
outdoor
of the
things.
neighborhoods down south near Long Neck, like they all have community pools where everybody hangs out at and all that stuff too.
Yeah. Still to this day. I remember even speaking back in the day, like I grew up in the time frame getting through high school without, smartphones and being that way. Like we go down to the baseball field and play baseball. You ride your bikes. There's less of that going on. We could talk about that.
Yeah.
Today, let's go more into Delaware. What are we doing today? What's fun? What's enjoyable? Let's talk lifestyle for someone coming in that maybe has no idea about where a McDonald's is in Delaware. Nevertheless, what they're going to do with their kids on the weekend, what I'm going to do after work on a Thursday. Let's dive into it.
Let's sprinkle that in. I mean, aside from Grotto's, like what's your favorite dive bar?
We're going right into the bars.
Right into the controversy of Grotto's.
Right into the bars.
You mentioned one of the best pizzas to get us started. I love that for you. I appreciate that.
Just shut up.
Just getting started with quality.
It's a good pizza.
It's a really good pizza.
I feel like Grotto's business plan is like, we're going to just, you know what? Cheese is expensive. we're gonna cut back on that.
It's good
there's
cheese.
It's just down first.
It's
The sauce is after the cheese. There's cheese.
There's so much. I believe it's because they use like a cheddar cheese instead of like the normal
cheddar,
cheese.
yeah.
It's cheddar. They have to use less of it, or else it's overpowering. So they use like it's in strips.
No. It's all down. It covers the
I'm
whole
just
thing, and
saying-
then they swirl the top with.
You
With
come
sauce.
from
Wait, what?
Yeah,
it's
you didn't
all
know that?
cheese
You
and
didn't know
sauce,
that?
just the
Yeah,
stripes.
dude.
Yeah.
This is like a zebra moment. I'm really. This is the
Absolutely.
black or the white. Wow, I thought
I'm-
it was. Okay.
I'm just saying, you get your people from Chicago, you get your people from like New York, and you're just like, hey, let's go get some pizza, and then you throw Grottos in front of them. They're gonna be like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, but some people.
Pardon our French.
But a lot of people really like it, and that's why they have like 20 locations in Delaware. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean it's bad.
they're doing well.
Yeah.
in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
So
It's a successful business.
It's not advertised as gourmet pizza. It's not Grotto's gourmet pizza.
it's a legendary
It's
taste.
Grotto's take on a pizza.
Legendary
Like,
taste.
It's their
It's
pizza.
a different pizza. It's
But
just-
okay, so outside of Grotto's, there's a great starter question, and then we got into it. Bars and grills. Let's start up north. What are we doing? Let's start with the food.
So are we going into?
Yeah, let's go into the food. Let's go into the food.
From the outside in, Iron Hill Brewery,
Okay.
bamboozled. I
We need
love
to
it.
get you into some independently owned establishments.
A
here.
cool bar that's a good place to go for drinks and food would be Kitchelines. There's a
Kitchelines, yep.
Kitchelines in town, Charlie Square area. There's
Yep.
also a newer one in North Wilmington that we frequent.
I like that.
Two
What a-
Stones Pub.
Two Stones. I like that.
I was going to be the executive chef of the Middletown Two Stones Pub, and I just ended up choosing not to go to my second interview because I was like, you know what? I don't want to do this for the rest of my life.
I worked there.
And now you sell homes.
And here we are, selling houses.
I'd say it's not above the canal, but it's Newcastle's Crooked Hammock in Middletown. There's a lot of good Middletown spots. We could go on that. Above the canal, it's something's Tavern. It's up near Two Stones. Stanley's Tavern.
Stanley's?
Stanley's
That's
Tavern.
an old staple. Yeah.
What?
an
We
old
always
stable?
see it on GeoGuessr.
We do see it on the there all the time. I rock with Stanley's Tavern. And
Golden Grove.
Golden Grove. I used to be a Main Street UD frequenter. There's a spot called Alibaba's that I like out there. There's a couple cool spots.
Klondike Kate's.
Klondike Kate's.
Kate's.
Yep. There's a couple really cool spots.
Well, that's, there's a difference, obviously, and age has something to do with that.
Let's talk
obviously.
that, yeah.
Obviously, there's University of Delaware hangouts
Yeah.
and a lot of that there, and Deer Park and stuff like that, and really cool spots. But a lot of that, especially depending on what time of day or week you're going, would be a lot of college kids. But there's still a lot of good restaurants. Charlie Square is another area that, again, you probably get a lot of a younger crowd, especially on the weekends and things like that. But there's a lot of places to eat down there, too.
I feel like that's like the northern Dewey Beach is Trolley Square.
What do you think about that? You frequent both?
Somewhat.
Yeah.
I would say.
I mean, it's
I mean,
not Dewey
there's no
Beach by
beach.
any means.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the closest parallel, I'd say, but it's a different scene.
Yeah.
What is your opinion on Deer Park Tavern?
It's there.
Yeah, I've honestly, I've grown
Thank
up in
you.
Delaware my whole
there.
life. I've been there a handful of times.
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything for me.
That's more of like
but I
if
didn't
you
go to
live
Delaware, so
in downtown Newark, and you like, it's one of the places you can go and see a lot of people that you know and don't exactly get bothered by the in and out college kids just wanting to come in and get
Sure.
banged up. And
Sure.
it's kind of like the niche. I hate to say the word towny, but like
Yeah.
niche kind of local spot.
It's a place that wants to be Cheers.
Okay.
But so dirty.
Well, okay. So let's move down the state then. What are the other options? Bar, grills, hangout spots. And again, you made a good point on like the age bracket. And there's different things to do outside of just going out to drink food spots. Again, I mentioned like a Crooked Hammock. That's a great family spot.
Well, before we get too far going into the south of the state, I don't want to skip over the Market Street and downtown Wilmington area, especially with the age divide like you talked about. I think as far as like going out specifically to have a good meal, Market Street now is definitely having more of a renaissance of culinary art, you could say.
A renaissance
really-
of culinary art.
wow, I like that.
That's good.
He's twisting his spiral mustache right now while he's saying that.
Can you hold on 1 minute while I savor that?
Yeah.
Chew on
I
that-
just need to
chew
savor
on
that
for a
moment.
second,
Yeah.
But no, so I'd say, if you ask anybody in Wilmington where they'd go for a good dinner, it's now downtown Wilmington.
Yeah.
So
A lot of it, yeah.
A lot of good options up there.
What's the best option?
Yeah.
I don't like this question.
What are your top three?
We know
Real
what's
quick.
coming.
Just
What's-
quick lightning
what's the
round
first
top
one?
three.
Top three, like what are the first three that
Yeah.
come to your head?
As far as like Market Street, downtown Wilmington,
Yeah.
in no particular order, Lafia is a great restaurant. Lafia is a good one. Bardea Food and Drink, absolutely. And there's a lot fighting for that third spot there. I'd say.
What about the Coin? You like the Coin?
He does like the Coin. He talks about it a lot.
You do talk about the Coin.
The Coin is a beautiful establishment. They did
That's
a
fair.
really good job. It's like an old historic building, and it's aesthetically amazing. I can't speak on the food. I haven't had a meal there.
Yeah. Okay.
But multiple bars and
Yeah.
great building.
Heard. You're really selling it, man. You're really selling it.
I'm trying to be objective.
Be honest. That's what someone like.
Yeah.
Anyone listening to this wants to know. Like what are the best
I'll
areas
tell
I
you
can
what,
go to?
Diamond in the Rough, if you're
Okay.
going downtown Wilmington, this place called Farmer and the Cow.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say that. Farmer and the Cow.
Amazing. So one of the best burgers you'll have in your life. But their whole menu is great, and it's a specifically whiskey bar. But you go in, and it's a full wall of probably 200 different whiskey bottles. If you're a whiskey drinker, it's absolutely incredible.
I want to go there right
heaven.
now.
It's heaven. It's really
Farmer
good.
and the Cow.
Let's go.
Let's
Farmer
go.
and the Cow. Yeah.
Oh,
And
didn't-
here we
yeah,
are.
we didn't edit in that part yet.
Yeah. We'll
All
try
right.
again.
Farmer and the Cow.
So let's stick with Newcastle County. Is there anything to do in the Middletown area? What's the first thing that pops in your head? I feel like
Middletown again. I don't know as much because we just wouldn't go to dinner in Middletown. So there's probably some good spots that I just don't know about. Do you know anything about Middletown?
I know La Banca is now reopened, and I've heard they're doing good.
1776.
Yeah, they have a
1776.
steakhouse.
It's a really good steakhouse.
They're more of like trying to get the family thing going. Like they've got the Two Stones, they've got the Crooked Hammock. I think they're just trying to get people out right now.
We just had the owner of Taco Rijo, Billy. That's a great spot.
Taco
Just
Rijo.
took the steak and shake
They
spot.
just opened the indoor putt-putt, which
Yes,
is adult
Birdies,
and
Links, and
kids.
Drinks.
Yeah, which
Yes.
was awesome.
They hit us up to come out there, so we got to make sure that happens.
Talk to you about it.
We have to make
And you talk about Taco Rio. That reminds me, like there's like I call it upscale Mexican places up in Wilmington that they're popping up. It's like
Oh yeah,
is it El Camino?
Mm-hmm.
And then you got Del Pez.
Del Pez.
There's something else too.
there's a lot of money in Middletown. It's
Yeah.
just that I don't feel like they have the infrastructure or at least the fine dining essence at all.
1776 takes a little bit of that. And I like the Birdies, Links, and Drinks because that is a higher net worth activity, typically. And gives something different to do than the typical spots because it's like an indoor golf simulator, kind of like a Top Golf, but inside, drinks, bar. But you're right. It's a popular area. And I think because of 301, giving people transit to a lot of people, for one reason or another, will have a job in Baltimore, D.C., Annapolis, and travel in from Delaware because Delaware is cheaper, or up north. They don't want to pay Wilmington money, Philly money, so they come down to Middletown. And that's been happening for a while, but has the infrastructure kept up? I feel what you guys are saying is and I agree. I don't choose to go to dinner in Middletown too often. I don't hear about it too insanely.
I mean, there's a couple good places.
There's a couple good places, but for the amount that it's growing, like you said,
Yeah, there's nothing special about the food that's there aside from like the couple chains that have come up there, like Taco Rijo. It's starting to become a chain. Crooked Hammock's starting to become a chain. There's got a Grotto's, they got a Texas Roadhouse, they got a Kiku, they got all that stuff. But aside from maybe like Metro Pub in 1776, like there's not a lot of places that are just like, hey, this is the spot, this is the restaurant. Like it's privately owned and it's like
That's fair.
its own thing.
Well, if there is some things, obviously, if we're talking on YouTube, maybe somebody can comment on this post, on this video, to let us know what
some
some nicer
exposure.
places.
Yeah, if
where
there's
you
someone
can
in
visit
Middletown, fuming like, oh, you're missing 17 spots, let us know. Because I think of other downtown spots that are a little bit farther south, also starting with M's, like Middletown. Milford and Milton are two that I'm heavy on. And I think of those two downtowns as areas that are doing pretty well in newer restaurants coming up and getting family-owned businesses and mom and pops and lack of chains that are coming around.
Yeah, like Camden and Dover, like they're starting to pop off a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
As
mean,
they should.
And I feel like a lot more privately owned places are popping up, but there's that one or two like private owned places that are really good, the mom and pop shops. Like Cool Springs is probably one of the best restaurants in the state of Delaware.
Rail House, New Bar and Grill in Dover is awesome. I love that. And right next to Restaurant 55, which is one of my best burgers in the entire state.
Rail
Cool
House is
Springs.
gorgeous.
Rail House
So,
is gorgeous.
me as an outsider, the way I kind of see it as far as Dover and the limited experience I have had down here, do you see it as an issue getting money into these type of businesses because there's no really centric downtown? Is the way that I see it.
Yeah,
because you got to go. You know, we're going out down State Road and all the just for the Buffalo Wild Wings, and we go to the taco spots, and it's like there's nothing here, right here, that we could like walk to and go get dinner. You know what I mean?
There are places that have tried to be the more fine dining spots in Dover, and you hit the nail right on the head. Mm-hmm. People are freaking cheap when it comes to food.
Well, not even fine dining, but just like
Things to do.
having it in downtown.
Well, I hope this video doesn't age well. I really don't.
Absolutely.
Because there's so many plans in place and actually a lot of momentum
Yes.
in Dover's downtown growth. I really hope we watch this video and like, oh man, I can't believe we had that opinion 5 years ago. Because there's already a lot moving. The old post office is getting turned into the Post, which is going to be more residential, restaurant, coffee shop. They're already making moves on a gigantic apartment condo complex will be over here. Yeah. They're going to be, the plans are actually, they're going to close off this little road out in front of us, this little weird two-way road, so there's more walking space. They're trying to make all of Lockerman, they're going to widen the sidewalks, make it more walkable, outdoor dining. They're trying to go, I think they're referencing like a Charleston type vibe or a Savannah, Georgia type vibe is what they're going to be going for.
Yeah, and it could easily be like a downtown Newark Main Street type.
But to answer your question around the money too, there hasn't been a lot of infrastructure for jobs, and that's growing. The medical field's continuing to grow.
Yeah.
Military's always been a staple, but I think the increase of people being able to move from Philly, keep their job that they had with the company in Philly, and work remotely and live in a Camden is something that Delaware should be excited about, whereas a lot of people I know that live in Delaware aren't excited about what they'll call transplants or out-of-staters, but they're bringing our economy up and creating more mom-and-pop opportunities for them to survive and be good.
As far as a Dover resurgence, though, and they could spend all this money and do all these things, wouldn't you have to get rid of the homeless to make all that work?
But think about Wilmington. You guys have the same. I mean, I feel like they kind of still have the same battle. I feel like we would have to deal with the homelessness, and I feel like that would have to get cracked on. When me and Heather Jones went to the actual meeting in Levy Court and saw the announcements, and that vagrancy was like the #1 pending thing that people had a lot of problems with. But I know that we're getting some leadway, at least from that first meeting with the office and everybody that came and visited, because from an inside source, and I don't want to say too much publicly, but like they have like pending contracts that'll bring like 8 figures into Dover. Like,
Yeah.
and that's not a small amount.
No, it's not. And I know the amount that they're looking at. They're looking at $500 million is the total that they're looking for the. You can look it up. The Dover 2030 project, the Capital City 2030. That's just one example.
Yeah.
Of how they're trying to bring money in. But with the homeless problem, it's a problem I think that solves itself when you have people, foot traffic, and businesses that are succeeding in those areas. It's not going to, unfortunately, when a city does well, quote unquote, in our capitalistic structure, usually success also breeds a darker bottom side of the scale.
Yeah.
But in like a Wilmington area, for example, Market Street and these Main Street areas that are hustling and bustling are just basically moving the vagrancy to another area.
Exactly.
Right?
I was just going to say that you're down on Market Street way more than I am. Like,
Yeah.
I don't see a lot of homeless people on Market Street. Probably a couple streets away, maybe on the next block. But I don't see a lot of that there whenever I do go there.
I'll even go out on a limb and say
You don't have to go down the limb. Just tell me.
Just give us the answer.
Just sit right there and talk.
I'm going to walk out on this limb, and I'm going to say that maybe even homelessness specifically isn't the complete problem. I wouldn't say I see a lot of, I mean, you see it, it's there, but I wouldn't say it's an in-your-face problem in downtown Wilmington. I think it's just a poverty issue more than anything. I mean, I think a lot of people, and there's the I'm blanking on the term here, the homeless places.
Homeless shelter?
There's the shelters down there.
Got it.
There's multiple, and as far as I understand, they do the job. I don't think any of them do them great, but
Yeah, it's something that needs to get worked on.
yes,
For sure.
But there's places, and I haven't seen like an incredible number of people on the street every night. There may be a few.
Yeah. Well, I think with Delawareans, the people, I'll speak for me, people that have been in Delaware for their entire life view certain issues as the peak of an issue.
Yeah.
we like see 4 or 5 homeless people in our downtown streets, and we're like, oh, we have a homeless problem. Like, have you been anywhere else?
Oh yeah, compared to
exactly
Skid Row and
oh,
LA,
we got a traffic problem. Have you ever been anywhere else?
Yeah.
Like, we don't have a traffic. So I think a lot of ours are kind of at scale. We have a problem.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think Delaware's definitely a small world for the people that don't really go out and experience those other areas.
Yeah.
Delaware, there's a lot of people that just stay here. And not in a bad way. There's
a lot of people
that
stay. There's a lot of people that stay above the canal. There's a lot of people who live in Delaware above the canal that never come below the canal. Why do people do that?
2 different worlds.
Why? Or like, what
do you think you're better than us? I'm just kidding.
I'm not. You think you're better than us?
This goes back towards housing just a little bit in terms of an inventory problem, especially like in North Wilmington, that I can speak for because I've lived there my whole life, and that's that North Wilmington is a nice place to retire. Especially if you even want to get a ranch house or whatever, but like taxes are low, no sales tax, low property tax. You're kind of around a lot of central areas. So outside of like wanting to get away from winter, it's a nice place to stay.
Sure.
Because of that, like schools have closed over time just because there's not as many kids coming through because people generally stay in the area once their kids grow up. So therefore, obviously, that creates kind of an inventory problem for what's selling. But that's the reason why a lot of people stay there instead of moving to Florida or even downstate.
Mm-hmm. And to that point, it's caused a lot of those northern school districts to actually be very good school districts, the ones that remain, because they're very well funded with not as many kids, to your point.
Yeah.
So someone looking to relocate in, North Wilmington school districts might be a good vibe.
But your hardest point of people staying inside those areas that you're talking about up north, the property taxes are at least 40% lower, if not more, than those areas as well down south too. So I feel like that also has like its little additional pull as well. It's not, even though Delaware taxes are not that significant, we're talking about 3,000 down to like maybe like 2,000.
Yeah, I mean,
Property taxes?
Yeah, I mean, you probably pay in like somewhere between 2,500 and 4,000 in North Wilmington, and then down to, I mean, you move down to wherever you could spend.
You could be $1,200.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So,
I've seen
which again isn't, when you're talking about $2,000 over a year, isn't a huge saving. So probably not worth it to
that makes sense.
Uproot your life to get that lower taxes.
Honestly,
Honestly, a lot of the reason to move anybody moves south is obviously for warmth. Now you're not getting that much warmer when you go down like
South
an hour and a half
Delaware,
in Delaware. Yeah. That's, I don't see a ton of like retiring and moving down to southern Delaware. And it used to be the idea that like get away from people. But now there's a lot of people coming there. Neighborhoods coming up all over the place, so it's not even like that anymore.
Well, who's better then? So if someone's looking above the canal, below the canal, where do I live? Which one's better?
Above's better.
Why?
Well, I'd say for myself in my own interest that
As someone who frequents their leisure below the canal, why do you love above the canal so much?
well, maybe not. I guess if obviously I could work anywhere for my job. I could just sell more houses in Sussex County. If my
Get
kids
out of my
went to
neck of the
school there,
woods.
Being down south.
yeah, like if my kids went to school there and stuff like that, I could live in that area. That'd
So
be
if you
fine.
had to choose between the two, you'd pick down south?
I'd probably still pick up there. And I can't. I'm just trying to. It's closer than I thought it would be, as far as like if I were to live down that area, like Long Neck to Millsboro, or live in Wilmington.
Okay.
And if all were equal, it's pretty close. I'd probably still pick Wilmington, and a lot of that is that's where I know more people. That's where my family is. That's where.
Yeah. I mean, people definitely comes into play a lot just because there's such a condensed living population up there compared to down south, I'd say. I mean, outside of like the beach communities. Mm-hmm. But as far as I'd say it being condensed is one of my favorite things about it and why I would pick it, because there are plenty of things to do up north. And then you're also, like where I live, I've always lived downtown Wilmington. So you're on 95. You can hop pretty much between Newark, Wilmington, all the way down to the canal pretty quickly. And then you're right there with New York, Philly. You can get on the train, go to any of these cities pretty quickly as well, even down to D.C., Baltimore. Yeah, and we have Amtrak literally 5 minutes from anywhere in Wilmington.
I'm so ready for an Amtrak that goes from Wilmington to the beaches.
We talked about this.
I'm so ready for that.
Yeah.
And I don't see a reason why when we already have a railroad track that runs down the western side of Delaware, pretty much from top to bottom, why we haven't utilized, hey, we've already kind of carved out space. Let's put something else next to it. I don't know. I don't know how much stuff like that costs. But I feel when we talk about traffic, You solve that problem. Gone.
Really
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah.
You can start your own Zach track.
Zach,
Yeah.
Zach track.
You put in your own train.
loft lines.
Loft lines.
Loft lines. Welcome
It
to the
sounds
Zach
too
track.
much like a drug cartel
Loft lines.
or an acting business. I don't know.
What about you? Top or bottom?
Ooh.
Above the canal or below the canal?
Below the cow, baby. And I grew up there. Like
Yeah.
I was born in Bear, born in Christiana Hospital. Like I grew up there like the majority of
I didn't
like,
know
the
that.
beginning of my life. No, dude, I'm centralized. Like I've been everywhere.
Culture.
But
Called
anyway,
a carny. Go ahead.
that's our governor. And anyways, but what I'm saying is, I feel like Dover, Delaware has its specific sweet spot as far as the means of living and the area where it's at. I don't like the hustle and bustle of up north. It's just too much going on. And even from your standpoint, as far as like being a realtor up there, the majority, like I feel like I would say at least 50% of the real estate agents are in your small ass county. Like,
Yeah. But there's also 50% of the people,
An extra 50.
41%.
approximately.
yeah.
But probably relative.
Also, like, as somebody that's always lived in Wilmington, I don't see such a huge difference when you say hustle and bustle of Newcastle County. I
Yeah,
wouldn't
Well, you're
say it's-
used to it. Like for us, hustle and bustle to me is a very strong word. Although if you're from
You're not Midtown Manhattan.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
if
Like,
you're-
I think
if
going
you're
up
from
to
the sticks
city
of
is like-
Lincoln, then you go to Wilmington, you're like, man, this is a lot of hustle and bustle. Where for me and you, it's just like normal. Like I don't think of that as hustle and bustle.
Whereas I lived in Felton or Milford, and someone from up in Wilmington be like, man, you're from the sticks. And be like, it's just a small little town. What are you talking about?
yeah.
That sticks are
They have a river.
We do have a river.
and sticks. So
Y'all do have sticks. And y'all have actually, when it
We
comes
have
down to
sticks.
it, the lower slower is like, oh, man, it's a bunch of farms and trees and woods. Y'all actually probably win, like, the places to hike and nature trails battle.
You guys have so many fields. I
But
think
so
it's
we should have
fields.
categorized this above canal, below canal. So if it comes to like nature,
Okay.
nature trails,
I'd say
wilderness.
we win that too. Absolutely.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely not.
100%.
I argue below the canal for things like the ponds, the bays, those beaches that stroll all the way down
You
the
guys
coast.
don't have a single beach.
Beaches.
beaches. Are
You
good.
get-
You guys got
you win
That's fine.
beach.
you guys
Yeah,
got
you win
Love's
beach.
Pond.
Everybody
Well,
knows that.
we're not arguing beach. We're arguing
And where you-
wilderness and outdoor activities.
And where are you supposed to go sledding? Oh,
Just
No
gotta
sledding where
run
you're
real
from.
fast.
Where are you supposed to go on your boat?
There's plenty of places.
yeah, we can get out on a boat.
Absolutely. We got northeast.
Yeah, you might get dysentery from the water in Wilmington's harbor, but
Yeah, I don't know about the C&D canal, guys. All right. What about entertainment? Above or below?
above.
Above.
Yeah. I mean,
Above, yeah.
aside from like small areas like the Bottle and Cork, I can't think of any other venues that would.
Well,
well-
it's I don't want to have an immature conversation around it because it is around where you're at in life. If you're thinking of what there's nothing to do, and you're talking about there's no clubs.
Yeah, what do you want to do?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. What do you want to do? We don't have a professional sports team. I would love to do that. We don't have that. We don't have a Top Golf. I would love to do that. Like there's certain things I would love that we do not have.
But
But let me put it like this. Number one, we don't have a professional sports team, although in Wilmington we have 2 minor league teams that you can at least see some professional. And then also when you live in Newcastle County or Wilmington, then you're 30 minutes from professional.
Yes.
yeah.
And what's crazy
that was
is
my point. Sorry to cut you off here. But that was my point. I was going to say, I think one of the biggest draws of Delaware is also one of the biggest things holding us back as far as food, entertainment, things like that, is that we're essentially skipped over on all those things. So if you have an artist or somebody trying to open a franchise somewhere, it's like, why would I do it in Delaware when Philly's right there? You know, Baltimore's right
yeah.
there. New York's fine with what they got.
Well, yeah,
going.
and you
But
take it from their perspective, it seems like a safer bet. There's more people.
yeah, you're not going to have a big name artist come and play at the Queen when they can only fit 200 people in there, and then it might sell half the tickets.
but
Like,
Delaware does have the infrastructure to hold one of the largest music festivals. on
get
the East
rid
Coast.
of Dover Downs.
Man, don't get rid of it. Repurpose it.
Yeah.
Repurpose it. But they
Make
have
it
their
an
contract
arena.
with NASCAR. But regardless, I wanna further the conversation above and below.
Yeah.
What are the lifestyle differences between above the canal and below the canal that someone should expect? When we talk about hustle and bustle, you're right. It's not Manhattan. We're not. You're not walking down sidewalks flooded with people with your briefcase to
Yeah.
get to work. And down south, in certain areas, you're not having the pass horse and buggies to get to work. Couple roads maybe.
And
Pass
I'll
horse
say
and buggy,
this
but
real quick on the point of people on the street. We get a lot of people working in downtown Wilmington, coming from Philly, coming from New York. They're more uncomfortable in Wilmington just because there are not people in the street. Like walking throughout, the people have this stigma of like it's not safe in Wilmington walking at night because there's nobody on the streets. I think if it was closer to that Philly or New York type of place where you had a bunch of people on the streets, it would be a more comfortable city. But I think that we have that stigma of it being unsafe just because it's sparse.
Well, there was also a TV series that came out around like 2014, 2015.
I thought it got canceled, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Wilmington being the murder capital of the world.
Yeah, but those are temporary numbers. We're not.
Those are
even close
temporary,
to
and
that
that's a certain
anymore.
area of Wilmington.
Yeah.
Like, that you, that
Yeah, 100%. And we
Yeah.
have that same. We have that
And
same
people-
area in Dover.
Yeah,
and we have that same
people
area
will,
in Milford.
People will
like-
talk trash about Wilmington and say, "Oh man, the crime." Well, I live in North Wilmington.
Yeah.
Where that's not the same thing.
Yeah,
so.
and to say we have that area, like to say in Dover, like, yeah, like any downtown area, or should I say, you say Dover and Milford. I think that's a great example. Like, yes, there's people that will commit crimes in those areas, but a lot of those areas you'll see that in are areas that are growing and seeing success on one big, large scale on this side. And like we said, with any stretching of that dynamic, there's going to be people in the bottom end that aren't getting the reward and the success, that are going to be on harder times. They're going to lean toward those crimes. The beautiful part about Delaware, though, is with those crime rates outside of that 4-block radius of Wilmington, we're one of the lowest violent crime states in the entire country. A lot of the crimes that do happen are financial, kind of either white-collar crimes and or things that are just happening domestically within,
just
the
one-offs.
normal, stuff happening like that.
Yeah, go back to your point about hustle and bustle versus above-
OSD,
above
lower,
and
slower
beyond.
Delaware.
So outside of like the beach areas in the summertime, like northern Delaware, Newcastle County, Wilmington area is going to be the most traffic that you're going to see. Now that doesn't mean that like we're gridlocked all the time. That's not like we're like in LA on the freeway, but that's very distracting, by the way.
He's touching my watch. It wants me to stand up.
So it's not gridlocked. I can get around and do what I got to do. It's just the most traffic that you're going to see. Now, if you went in other areas of the state, you're not going to hit any of the traffic. But the reason why you have
And
so much,
it's pretty rush hour specific.
you just have more,
Very rush hour specific.
and you just have more people because again, that's where all the industry is. Not all the industry, but a lot of the industry. You have education, hospital, banking, and actually people that live in Delaware and work in other states, whether it be Maryland or Pennsylvania.
Plus,
So that's just have more people there.
there's a pretty interesting statistic before COVID kind of changed a lot of the downtown workplace type of thing. But Wilmington as a city lost, I think it was something along the lines of like 50 to 60% of its population at 5 p.m. Like so many people were commuting into Wilmington to work and then going back out into the suburbs that like after 5 p.m. the city lost half the population. So when you think of as far as property values and stuff like that, now we're seeing it kind of level out in downtown because there's not so much in and out. People can live where they want and work out of where they want with a lot of the remote jobs, I think, now. But for the long time, people would just commute into the city and then commute back out to the suburbs because there's so many suburban houses so close, and they'd be like, why would I live in downtown Wilmington?
So do you see, is there a future where above the canal becomes worth... Do you see there is a world where the state starts to even out in price point then and population if less people have to live up there for the industry? That more and more people start, squeezing down into the lower areas of Delaware because they can continue their job, continue what they're doing up
I
north?
think it's happened because Middletown used to be the place to go to get a deal.
Yeah.
That's not like that anymore.
Yeah.
Middletown
Oh, no,
prices-
yeah.
That's
It's far been gone.
Yeah, that's gone. So even when I kind of first got involved in real estate, that's almost 15 years ago. That was the place to go to get a deal, and that's changed. So just judging by that standard, it's very possible that you start squeezing down more and more and more. But also, it hasn't changed the pricing or anything. I mean, it's kind of leveled out as you get a little bit more south. But
Souther.
but we also all prices are continuing to go up in North Wilmington and Hocus and stuff like that. So we're not losing it, but we're just gaining it as you go south.
I'd say it's population
Souther.
density. I don't think anyone Souther. I don't think anyone north of the canal wants to feel far away from anything.
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing. Like I know people that have moved from Wilmington just out to the Newark areas, and they feel far away from places just because they're driving 15 minutes now to get back down into Wilmington. Like, 15 minutes for you guys probably seems like a short trip.
Yeah, a lot of what we're talking about is talking about anchoring. What you're used to is what you're used to. What you've done is what you've done, and anything different is going to feel really different.
Yeah.
Delaware is no different. And a lot of inward Delaware people hate on Delaware, and it's silly because I'd say 50% of the hate I hear is from people that are out or inside of Delaware. And they're usually the same exact people that aren't doing anything with the opportunities of Delaware.
Yes.
They're probably just complaining type of people.
Exactly. And the other 50% hears them and thinks, oh, this is just Delaware specific. Delaware must stink. That happens everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That happens everywhere. And so with Delaware specific, I hate that conversation keeps coming up, but there's so much to do. There's so
plenty to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love living in Delaware. I'll live in Delaware likely my whole life, and I don't just say that because I try to sell houses or that's I'm trying to like pump up my area. But there's nothing wrong with living in Delaware. It's fairly cheap. I make a good living doing what I love to do. I'm near friends, family. I'm near, like, again, we talk about often, I'm near Philly if I want to go to Philly for a sporting event, Baltimore if I want to do that. There's lots, and then an hour and a half from the beach, like, there's nothing that I don't have kind of at my fingertips.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. The central location, both within Delaware, to be able to get to the beaches, to Wilmington, to a Dover, to stretch any festival, any weekend, any throughout Delaware, you can make it within 30, 45 minutes. And then, like, the interstate central location, Baltimore, Annapolis, D.C., Ocean City, Maryland, Ocean
Jersey
City,
Shore.
Jersey.
Yeah,
all the way around, we have access to it. So that's a big value point. All right, let's close this conversation out. What are the big pros? What's the pro that people aren't thinking about that don't live in Delaware? Let's talk to them first, and then I want to talk to the people that live here. But let's end it on what's the big pro of Delaware that you may not know about if you do not live here?
I think you just said it. I think there's financial positives, but like you just said, the
Centralized.
Yeah, the centralized
Central
nature
location.
of it, being the whole state of Delaware being at your fingertips, and then also being kind of in between some metropolitan areas of interest.
Yeah.
And I mean, throughout the entire part of Delaware, you're not far from anything. Like, we have so many, like, because we're going and talking about these northern and southern different parts of Delaware, we got to let everybody know, like, it's 2 miles to drive across to get to all of the things that we just went over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're in the middle of Laurel, like, it's still not so far in the sticks that you can't still find something to do. You just have to travel a
Right,
little bit.
and the things that we don't have, again, they're right outside the state. So, like, do you want to go skiing? No problem. We're about an hour and a half to 2 hours north of Delaware. You can hit the Poconos, and now it's not Vail, Colorado. It's not Killington, Vermont. It's not the same thing, but you just have almost everything that you want. I don't know what else you would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could really ask for to be within
Theme
2
parks,
hours of where you are.
airports, beaches.
Yeah, but the
I'd
theme
say-
parks are so close to here that we don't even have to worry about the travel that's less than 2 hours away.
Sure. Yeah.
I'd say definitely. I think the more well-known factors that we are the centralized. I'd say the less talked about is the financial benefits of it. Low property taxes, sales tax. I think cost of living is relatively lower.
It's actually kind of above average, our cost of living. But when you look
for
at
our local areas.
yeah, when you exactly, I don't like our numbers because we range so drastically between northern Delaware, southwest Delaware, the beaches. We're a relatively cheaper place to live.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Compared to Philly.
And I like to
Lancaster.
but I don't
Neighboring
ever
areas.
use low property tax or no sales tax as a reason to move here. I mean,
benefit.
there are some benefits, but at the same time, like, every state's going to get their money somehow.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're just getting
Us
hit
and our
with different
damn
ways.
tolls.
We got tolls. We have the highest property tax in the country. Excuse me, we have the highest transfer tax in the country.
yes.
So they're going to get their money in somehow. So it's just not in property and sales tax.
Biggest pro people don't know about from outside Delaware.
The beaches. And it's not just Rehoboth Beach. It's just the line of beaches if you go from basically center of Kent County all the way down to the southern tip. Like, there's a lot of private beaches that you can still access and you don't have to deal with the tourist spots.
I love that. Yeah. Get to watch the waves break.
Yeah.
Get to maybe catch a fish, bring your dog.
See a horseshoe crab.
On that note,
What's nice about that too is the beaches is there's other beaches to go to, and it kind of depends on what you want to do and like your family. If you have young kids, there's beaches you can go to that don't have those big waves. You don't have to worry about undertow and and dangerous stuff like that.
Yeah.
Go to the beach in Lewis, you're on a bay, and it's much less dangerous.
On that note, I would like to say something we actually touched, didn't get too far into, but wildlife, nature, like as far as camping, hiking, biking, it's all in Delaware.
Yeah.
All of it. There's incredible spots north or south to do it all in. So I think.
And then the central location, you get to Assateague, Chincoteague, you can get up north, you can get into the Poconos, you can get out west Maryland, these little areas like we had stayed at with my brother, out in the middle of the woods and mountains, like a lot of cool spots.
Yeah.
Pro-wise, on my side, I see a lot of people that realize the pro of the food. I think a lot of people, for some reason, come in from out of state, especially bigger areas, and think our food sucks, especially the Jersey people. They just think our
Jerseys used to tailor ham and just bullshit.
We have a lot of good food options. You get down to the beaches, a lot of different options, and I have to give it to Above the Canal that probably couldn't go somewhere twice if you wanted to.
There's a lot going on.
Lot going on.
Yeah.
And the Miltons and the Milfords, even Feltons and Dovers, all the way up Middletown's getting more and more things to do, restaurants, entertainment. I don't see a world. I'd love a quick poll for the people that live in Delaware. Do you see home prices going down or up?
I don't see them going down in any possibility.
In any area of Delaware?
No.
Mike?
Up.
Every area of Delaware, Mike?
There would have to be something that is completely outside of housing to happen in order for prices to go down.
Yeah. If housing, absolutely. I was just about to say, it took the words out of my mouth in a way of saying, like, it would have to be a macro price decrease across the entire country, if not the world, to bring Delaware down. Because Delaware, at a macro or a micro standpoint, is getting people from New York and Jersey and Maine and Concord and New Hampshire and all these different places, like it or not. And those places are bringing money into our economy, bolstering our price points. And Delaware, I don't know if you've heard, is pretty small. And so we don't have as much dirt. Up north, above the canal, new construction's like nil.
Yeah, it's not much.
Yeah, is next to
not
nothing.
much area.
The main beaches, we're running out of dirt and sand. Broadkill Beach is actually, I believe, the first above the canal beach that we have that has run out of sand. So they have no more room to build. And that's a big beach if you've ever been to Broadkill.
Didn't Rehoboth at a point, though, have to completely re-sand the beach? Weren't they like...
I don't
Yeah,
think that had
you're
to do
in
with
real estate.
houses, though.
Yes, it does. I feel like it has a lot to do with houses because if you own a beachfront property and you're losing
Well, sure.
footage of land every single year.
He's talking about more specifically.
I think it was more
construction.
specific. Well, no, I think it had more to do with people actually traveling in to go to the beach.
I think it has more to do with
I think it benefits the beach owner, don't get me wrong, but I don't think they're as worried about that guy
Yeah.
as they're tens of millions of dollars of commerce they get from people that travel to those beaches.
I just can't wait for all the beach people once the world goes underwater because the ice cap's melting.
We don't have to get into that, all that. But yeah, I see price points going up too because we are a state that is lower cost than our neighbors. It's real easy math. Neighbors want to move in. There's less people that have to go to their physical job to earn income. That's a big deal. And there's lots of stuff to do that people are realizing about Delaware. It's not all that it's not cracked up to be. Like, it's actually pretty cool. And so I think if you are a person who lives in Delaware, has a home in Delaware, owns an asset on the dirt in Delaware, I think we're all in agreement here that you're probably going to see that asset grow.
Yeah.
Well, no, just to hark back on the food thing really quickly.
Food.
I love food.
I love food.
I'm freaking hungry.
Let's get some food.
I'm hungry too.
You guys want to eat?
We can get some
DoorDash.
food.
Ooh.
I'm too packed.
Man, we got a geocache, yeah.
Are you done your
Correct.
diet?
No, I just got a lot of stuff to do after this.
No.
I thought you
it's
said
the-
an open morning.
No.
No? You texted me saying, what are we doing tomorrow? Oh, you said that for Tuesday.
What are you doing
Never
after
mind.
this?
I have to do a virtual buyer's consult and I'm leaving.
All right.
Hard one.
So, we are now being added onto, as far as food and restaurants goes, the list in Philly.
See those glasses real quick.
Yeah, you can. So as far as like Philly Insider, Edible Magazine, stuff like that, Wilmington restaurants are being added onto the Philly local lists.
Nice.
Now, Philly businesses aren't happy about that because it's taking away their availability to be on those lists. But like you said, people are finding out. You're so fucking handsome.
Thank you.
People are finding out now more about Delaware restaurants because we're getting that outside of Delaware exposure,
Sure.
which I think is great for the city.
Yeah, I think there's no reason why we go down in price when I agree with all of you. You look like Walter White and you look like a Lego character.
It's like the eyes are giving Ellen DeGeneres.
My eyes are pretty close together.
Blonde hair, blue eyes.
And I think I'll share your Harry Potter look.
Yeah.
No?
The beard is. If you were shaved, I think you'd be close.
Got it.
Beard kind of.
I don't know.
I like it. You look very studious, though.
Studious.
You look smarter
Almost
than you did 10 seconds ago.
Helmsworth. Is that how you say his name? Helmsworth.
Chris Hemsworth?
Hemsworth?
Thor?
Hemsworth.
I'll kiss
You
you.
got a bit of a Hemsworth going on.
Does he wear glasses?
Not at all.
Not at
No,
all.
he
I don't
does
know
in,
where we're drawing the resemblance.
Spider or something. What's that?
Thor?
No, that movie, the Spider.
Thor?
Spider Island or something like that.
Called
Thor?
I know that he is Thor.
It rhymes with Spider Island. I think it's called Thor.
Are you talking about Spider Island or Shutter Island? Because that twist
No.
is
Shutter
Leonardo
Island's
DiCaprio.
great.
All right, y'all.
Great
Appreciate you. Rock and roll.
Love you guys.
Love you.
Sorry.
Weirdos.